everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Sanity Symphony Podcast. Today I'm here with my special guest, Demetrik Hylton. Say what's up to the fans.
What's going on? What's going on? I'm so excited to be here with your boy Anthony. I'm so excited to be here, addressing the listeners, because guess what? The listeners are listening. So I'm glad that you guys are here and we're going to have some fun. We're going to have a good episode.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So, Demetrik, being that this is your first time on the podcast and this is my first time airing to the public with my talents and your talents as well, give a little biography on yourself from your beginning, where you came from, and basically the way you found your journey into your career in radio.
Wow, man. Where do I begin? Well, first off, I am a college student from New York City. New York is in the building from
Yes,
New
sir.
York City. I'm a college student right now at SUNY Westbury. Shout out to SUNY Westbury. And I would say that, my radio journey really began, I want to say 2017, when I was at National Community College working on my associate's degree. Didn't know what I really wanted to do with my life. I would say, like, what I'm saying, from, middle school to high school, I was always just trying to be accepted and liked, and I wanted people to, love the way I loved them, and I wanted people to like me the way how I like them. And one of the things that always used to, like, really, really, slip me up was like my rejection, getting rejected with a lot of things, and I never thought I would be good with anything. Even one of my high school teachers, when I was a senior in high school, told me that I will never get another degree after high school. It was a joke, but it wasn't really a joke. You know, when people say a joke, but they really mean it? He was like, enjoy this because you'll never get another degree after high school. And funny enough, when we graduated, me and my friends, we all graduated and we all walked. I didn't get my degree. And I have a picture on my Facebook and my Instagram with me and all my five of us. We called ourselves the Fab Five degree. And you know what I had to do? I had to hold up my hand, the five symbol, because I didn't have my degree, but I was able to walk at graduation. And from then on in my life, I knew that, like, I had a challenge. I had a challenge. I had a struggle because I felt so, you know, as a failure, lost into myself. And what really brought me to radio, before we even get to radio, I started podcasting in 2017 because I lost my aunt.
Mm,
Um
my
I,
condolences.
I, I lost I lost my aunt because she died from, you know, me and my family felt like it was a quick death, but not knowing that she was sick for so long and never said anything. And I told myself, yo, I'm gonna make a podcast for the people that doesn't have a voice. I'm gonna be the voice of the voiceless. And it was called the Right My Wrongs podcast, where we learned that our generational curses, we're gonna turn them into generational blessings. And
Mm,
that's when I fell in love with being on the radio, because I was able to have a voice at Nassau, which we called the Nassau Mix, our show at Nassau, where I would do an hour show where I would talk about hip hop or rap or whatever I wanted to talk about. I was able to talk about it. Shout out to my program director. He let us be free in who we were to talk about things, and I developed that confidence that I want to be a voice of the voiceless. And then on top of that, I was being mentored by one of my friends in Philadelphia, where he was showing me how I had to be intentional with what I wanted, and intentional with my gifts to the world. And one of my gifts, I do believe, is, being able to engage with people in radio. I've had a lot of people that listen to my podcast, and I don't have a crazy listener. I don't have a crazy viewership on my podcast. I actually haven't done it in like 2 years. That's on me, because, like, I've been so focused on trying to, get a job inside the field and get an internship, that I kind of neglected my podcast. And I'm not happy about that. But one of the things that my first mentor ever, Corey Hacker Green, showed me is that you have to be intentional. You have to make massive, immediate, imperfect actions. And what that means is, like, it made me not overthink my content, made me not overthink what I wanted to talk about, made me not overthink what I wanted to do, because I was just, like he said, massive, immediate, imperfect actions, when I knew, like, maybe it's not the best, but, like, still I'm putting out the work, I'm putting out the content. I'd rather have been a producer than being a consumer. At least I was producing, and still making things, and, making funny videos, whatever I wanted to do, be positive too, like, on my timeline. I was doing that. And also what he taught me is affirmations. That goes a long way. Before you can even touch it, you got to see it. And when you see it, you got to believe it in your head. And for me, I used to write down every single day, I'm going to change live through media and broadcasting. I'm going to change live by being a radio personality and TV personality. I wrote that in the morning and at night, from front to back. And so and behold, and I'm saying 3 years later, like, we're here where I have my first internship, my first ever internship in the industry was with SiriusXM back in January of this year. I got interviewed from SiriusXM in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Video interview. I got a video interview. They never even called me back, denied me after that. And I was watching Pastor Mike Todd documentary called Crazy Faith, and then and one of the series he was saying, like, you have to write down in your phone what you believe God can do for you, because I'm a big believer. And one of my things I wrote down, I said, SiriusXM will be my first mentorship in the field. I wrote that down in 2021 in my notes. And lo and behold, it happened. It happened January 2024. I was able to intern for NBA radio at Sirius XM. When I say like that right there, I cried off that, because I'm like, it was such a journey getting just to that point. Getting just to that point. Not only was it a journey, radio is so competitive. Everything in media is so competitive, and I always had the imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong here? Can I do it? And the fact that I was able to get that interview, get that position, get that offer to be on NBA radio was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And getting to NBA radio, it was hybrid. So I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on and Friday. So only days I was at the studio was on Wednesdays. Everything else was from home. So the experience was good. I built a good repertoire with my managers and with my coworkers, because we was working from home. I
Mm-hmm.
was on the studio one day a week, which was on Wednesdays, and it was good. But what I did was, towards the end of my internship, was it was like in April. I contacted my recruiter. I said, hey, I want to not before I get to that, I told my manager, I said, what can I do to come back here? Do you guys take interns again? Meaning, does the team? He said, no, they don't do that. And I said, okay, no problem. I want you guys to catch something here. I didn't take no for an answer.
Right.
Not being rude or disrespecting my manager. I said, no problem. I went and reached out to my recruiter. Anthony, something when we have a conversation, I'm always saying closed mouths don't get fed. I believe in, if you want to eat, you have to speak up and say what you want. When we go to a restaurant, you go to a drive-through, what's the first thing they say? Hi, welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you? You know what I'm saying? You have to open your mouth and say, what do you want to eat? What do you want them to give you? And that's what I did when I reached out to my recruiter. I said, look, I don't want to leave here. I said, I'm loving what I'm doing, and I want to come back as another intern at Sirius XM. And I told him I was interested in a different department, which is the talk programming department. And it's crazy how when something's for you, things move so quickly. Things move in motion. I'm on the train talking to him. Next thing I know, he calls me, tells me, hey, I reached out to the senior producer for I wanted to work for the Radio Andy team. He said I reached out to senior producer. He said I'm going to send you an online interview. Again, this is the video interview because it's the process. He said once you turn that in, he said I'm going to send it to him and he'll contact you in a couple of weeks for an interview. Anthony, let me tell you something. I have done these video interviews for so long,
Mm-hmm.
not not even realizing how somebody is even behind somebody is behind sending those links. He sent me that link so quick. And it's crazy because my first time waiting for that link, I waited like 2 months to get the video interview. He sent me that link so quick. I said, wow. Also, I want you to pick up. Sometimes it's about who you know, how you network. Because he
Right.
sent me that link so quick, I was able to get my interview and I waited. Then I had my interview with the senior producer at Radio Andy. But once my manager already from NBA Radio, he sent a reference about me. I kind of already was like, had the job, but I still had to go through like, the process. And I got hired as a summer intern for the summer working for Radio Andy. And now this summer has been a crazy experience because not only was I able to do two internships under SiriusXM, I was also able to meet my, my hero, my radio hero, radio legend, which is Sway. And man, when I say like, I'm saying, like Sway has been a huge part in the culture into the game, and the fact that I'm able to be in the same room, sitting down next to him as a radio Hall of Famer was everything to me. It brought tears to my eyes actually, because like it just shows me like the evidence is in the work. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
matters who you know, but the work keeps you there. The work, and I want to definitely encourage anybody that's listening to us right now is that you got to put the work in. If you can only put an hour of work in, put an hour of work in. You can put 30 minutes of work in, put 30 minutes of work in. But it's not going to come easy. It's not going to be a
Speak
handout.
on it.
I hope the listeners are listening. It will not be a handout. And I met Sway, and not okay. Let me get you to how I met Sway. Because remember, I'm on Radio Andy's team, so I want to talk programming side. Sway's
Right.
in music, but the blessing is Sway and Andy's studio was right next to each other, literally. And I told myself, I want to meet Sway. I really do. Because when you have these opportunities, you have to be aggressive, not aggressive where you're going to try to fight, but you got to go get it. I mean, I guess that's the New York nature in me that I'm going to go get it. You know what I'm saying? Even a rat know how to find some cheats. They're gonna go get it. You know what I'm saying? You in the city and you see these rats around the subway. They're not looking for nothing but food. Why? Because they're gonna go get it. So for me, I gotta be like that. I gotta find the cheese and go get it. And what I started to do every single morning, because see, Sway shows from 8 to 12.
Right.
Now, what my professor showed me is he said you got to make sure that you're the first one to show up and last one to leave. That stuck with me, Anthony. You want to know why? Because every single morning I didn't have to be at the studio until Wednesday mornings. I didn't have to be at the studio until 10. But I made it my duty to get to the studio at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Why? To sit outside of Sway's studio. Because if I didn't see Sway, I was going to see somebody that was working on his show. I,
Right.
the first person I ran into was his co-host Tracy G. Told her how much I listened to them, and I appreciate what she's done for the culture, give her respect. I told her I wanted to be able to sit in on the show. I didn't say I want to work on the show. I said I just want to sit in and see how things are done. She said she's gonna let Sway know. She said send her an email. The week after that, I ran into one of his associate producer named Kalani.
Mm-hmm.
Very very chill dude. He told me, you know what? He said, man, he said if that's what you want to do. He said just what I'm saying, you have to approach Sway. And man, let me tell you something. The next week, I said, you know what? Instead of working upstairs, I went downstairs, brought my laptop. Mind you, I'm on the clock now. I brought my laptop downstairs. I sat outside his studio again and waited. And man, when he came out the room, he said, yo, what's going on? He came up to me, approached me, told him my name, told him what I do, man. Before I could even say anything, he said, you're welcome to come and sit in the show anytime. The fact that Sway telling me I'm an intern, he don't know me. I'm an intern. I'm welcome to come sit on his legendary show on
Right.
Shade 45 anytime. Come on, man. Are the listeners listening?
Talk about it.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are the listeners listening? Like, tell me, like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, he told me that. Let me tell you something. Whoever's listening, when somebody that can help you, when somebody that's you're trying to build a network with tells you something that they can help you with, don't be afraid to take the opportunity. If you're from New York, don't be afraid to look thirsty. Because guess what? Water is free. So you don't have to be thirsty for anything. Don't be afraid to drink the water. You know what I'm saying? Because we get caught up in, oh, I don't need no help. I'm self-made. What's the difference between you that's self-made and somebody's already have it? What's the difference? There's no difference. You decide to struggle more than the person that got a group of people around them that's helping them. That's the
Mm.
difference. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. So don't be afraid if somebody tells you, yo, if you can make it to the studio at 8 o'clock in the morning, I can give you an hour of training every Friday. If they tell you that, you need to be there every Friday. They might forget that they told you, but trust me, when you show up every Friday, they're gonna be like, wow, he or she is really serious about what they want, what they're asking me for. The thing is, you have to show how bad that you want it. And I'm not talking about bowing down and what I'm saying, like being a suck up to people. No, I'm talking about showing up doing the work, being there, being vocal, being attentive, being in the moment, ready. Not, and that's also
Part.
too. A lot of people say want something, but they're not ready for it. You gotta be ready for the moment. Only time to get ready, only time that you're gonna be ready is when you stay ready. So in these times of like, you know what I'm saying, of your process of learning and you're going through what you're going through, you have to endure the rejection sometime to get, you know what I'm saying, to your yes. So he told me anytime, and guess what? I took him up on that. The next week, I showed up on Thursday, and I'm outside the studio. I'm outside the studio before he even walked in. And I said, hey, can I come on in today? He said, you know what, today's not the best day because it's a slow day. We don't got no guests. So no problem. I went back upstairs to my post, sitting down, minding my business. Do you know that Sway came looking for me 20 minutes later? I didn't even know he knew where I was at. He came looking for me to come and work on his show and run the phones as a phone op.
How
As a
crazy is
phone op. You know what I'm saying, man? That right there is amazing. And the fact that he came looking for me, I want to show anyone that when God has something for you, he's going to send for you.
that
He's
part?
going to send for you. The blessing is already yours. He came looking for me. So it goes to show you that, you know, you have to press towards the mark of the higher calling. There is a higher calling. Press towards the mark because it just blows my mind every time. I asked him, I said, "Sway, how'd you find me?" He said, I know everywhere around this building. But the fact that he knew exactly where to look for me, blessing was already there. God will line things up and blow your mind when you walk in faith. So the fact that he came looking for me was a blessing. I come downstairs, I'm working the phone ops on the show. I'm thinking I'm not gonna say a word. I'm just gonna just work on the show. I'm not gonna talk. He gives me a chance to speak about my life and what I was dealing with, what I was going through in that same week. I have an uncle right now in
Mm,
a coma, and the doctors are not giving up. He's in a coma. And I was able to tell Sway about what I'm going through and about his situation. And do you know, people called in praying for my uncle, showing love. And the fact that they did that every week has been improvement. He hasn't woken up yet, but he's moving. He can hear, he can feel. If the nurses are moving him, he's uncomfortable. He knows how to move his hand. He can hear. He's alive. That's what I'm trying to like it's such a blessing that Sway was able for me to say my uncle's name on his show, so nationwide could join in prayer for him. That shows you the power of prayer. And I say that to say this: whatever you're praying for, believe that it's already yours.
mm.
Sometimes we have to be made in the shade, and that's fine, because I'd rather God make me in the shade than anybody else trying to make me in the light. God approves you in private. Why? Because he has to get us ready. He has to make us, you know, he has to make us humble. He has to make us open and willing to not only accept the blessing that he has for us, but also be able to give back to somebody else. Because it's not about us. It's about the blessing. He said that, your gifts makes room for you and bring you in front of great men. That's what this summer showed me, that I was around all these great people because of my gift and the promises that he gave to me. And towards the end of my internship, I'm able to have a mentor like Sway where I'm able to have his number. Me, a high school graduate that didn't get his diploma, that was written off by his teachers, his professors, rejected by every company he applied to. A year later, I have a radio legend number in my phone. He knows my name.
Come on now.
That 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 right there just shows me that it's all in your faith. But remember, faith without works is dead. So you have to stay working hard at it. Don't get discouraged when it doesn't go your way. Because if you get discouraged and give up, then guess what? It wasn't for you anyway. Life's gonna challenge you. Even this internship challenged me. But guess what? I pushed hard. I persevered. I worked 7 days a week. I worked full time at Costco, and I worked full time at SiriusXM. I had no, and I'm up at 4 o'clock, the latest 4:30 every single morning to get to the gym. I had no time for breaks, but guess what? I had that passion, that burning desire to want to be great, to want to make it, to want to be the best intern. I made sure I spoke to everybody in that building, from the janitor to the front desk clerk. At least everybody knew who they knew my name. They knew every morning. They knew, like, oh, that's Demetrik. I'm speaking to everybody. Good morning. Have a good night. It's all about leading with grace and kindness, but also having the ambition to go after your dreams and what you truly believe in. It's
Right.
the ball's always in your court. It's just about when you going to move in motion. So anybody listening to this and could find some inspiration through my story, and I hope that you do. I hope that you always remember your lane is not slow, but it's sure. I'd rather have a short lane than have a fast lane, and it's not even gonna be sure. So always remember, you might be moving slow right now, but the promises, the results will be sure. You'll know that you belong there. You'll know that you've done the work, and you'll know that what's for you will always be for you.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
You
And
know what I'm saying?
dealing with the rejections, speak on how you were able to manage those rejections.
How was I able to manage the rejections? I got back to work. I went to my school right now, which is Old Westbury, and I decided to work for free. I did an internship for free with my professors, and I was able to hone on my skills and work on the things that these rejection letters were telling me that I wasn't good enough doing. And I didn't stop believing in myself. Like, I kept going. Like, I kept posting on social media. I kept, what I'm saying, kept doing work. I kept being on the radio. I'm like, I'm not gonna stop. I kept reaching out to my mentors. Like, I kept asking questions. I kept reading books. You know what I'm saying? Like, once the rejection came, I said, a rejection just redirection. So once I understood that this wasn't gonna work this way, I said, let me try to make it this other way. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a redirection towards what the things that I wanted. And that's another thing too. Like, when you get rejected, it's not for you to give up, but it's for you to ask yourself, how am I going to turn this no into a yes somewhere else? But or turn this no into a yes at this same company. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to continue to push and press. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be it's not no one's gonna just say okay just because even because you're working so hard. You think people care about how hard you're working? They're
Mhm.
working hard too. You got to be the difference maker. You gotta be the difference maker. What makes you different? My professor tells me this: when you become necessary, you stay necessary. You gotta stay necessary. Whether it's your energy, whether it's how it's something about you that this company say, we want you. We got 200 plus applicants, but we want you with us. So what I did, I blocked out the noise. I dialed in. What I'm saying, like, instead of listening to music every morning on my car, I listened to podcasts. I listened to different radio stations. I did my homework. I studied the greats. Like, what I'm saying, like, I did what I had to do to get that first yes. So, like, for me, like, I was able to navigate through the rejection by just, what I'm saying, putting my head down and believing that it was redirection for me.
Speak on the pressures you had and the expectations when performing on the opportunity when you got to hang out at Z100 and your internship through NBA radio and along with being on the phone for Sway Show as well.
Man, the Z100 thing, let me definitely take y'all through that backstory. So I went to this conference back in 2023 called the IBS conference. It happens every year in New York City. And different colleges around the world come and come listen to keynote speakers, seminars, resume workshops, or what have you. So something told me, it's funny because I went on Friday and Saturday of both days, and something told me, like, don't go on Saturday. Like, I think I was tired or something like that, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna push to go, and I went on the Saturday where I made it to the keynote speakers, Josh Martinez from Z100 and Maxwell from Z100, New York's number one hit radio station. Um, I was able to listen in on them and listen into their journeys on how they made it in radio, how they made it to Z100. And this was like the first time ever in my life I had opportunity to approach someone like an on-air host like Josh. And then when I say like I pressed my way through crowds of people, like a crowd of people to get to talk to him, and I shook his hand. I thanked him for giving us motivation because he inspired me. And I said, look, I said, ask one thing from you. I said, I want to be able to learn from you. Can I? And he said yeah, but he said no problem. He said you know come up to the station and we could chat. And I'm like, come up to the station. So I'm like, we're not talking about, what I'm saying, any station. We're talking about the legendary iHeart radio station, what I'm saying, where
Right.
hosts like Ryan Seacrest and legendary people, Elvis Duran show everybody programmed from out of there. So he said, come to the station. I didn't think he was serious. He gave me his Instagram. I added him. I texted him right away that same day. You know what I'm saying? It was a Saturday. He got back to me that Sunday morning. He said, "Yo, for the next 2 weeks, you will come to the station or whatever." And man, I kept in contact with him throughout those next 2 weeks. Then I remember it was like a Monday. He said, "Yo," he said, "let me know. When you come in, just call me. I'll come downstairs. Security will let you in." This is my first time ever going. This is before I even got to Sirius XM. Like this was winter of 2023. Before I got to Sirius XM, my first time ever walking into a legendary radio station like iHeart. And I what I'm saying, I get there, he comes downstairs, let me in. I go upstairs with him, man, and he's taking me, he touring me around. I'm looking at Elvis Duran's studio, his huge office. This is the same building where the Breakfast Club program their show with Charlamagne the God, Angela, Charlamagne the God, not Angela Yee, just Hilarious and DJ Envy. At the time, it was Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, and Angela Yee. But I even saw Angela Yee's studio too. You know, I was so eager to be able to learn. I was asking, yo, can I, what I'm saying, like, do something for you, whatever the case may be? Can I like work on something for you? He was like, no. Like it's a lot of times he was like, no, just sit back. He said, sit, listen, observe. And I used to get frustrated, believe it or not, because I'm like, how am I learning if I'm just sitting here observing stuff? And then I
Right.
realized I'm like, what I'm saying? Like I used to get frustrated. Like I'm trying to get in the mix. You know what I'm saying? But what I realized with him, Josh Martinez, one of the best, not only mentors but the best human beings I've ever come across for a long time. He just wanted me to absorb everything, like see how everything works, not just try to get my hands on things so quickly. And with that repertoire, me and him was able to grow a relationship where like I can text him and call him anytime, ask him a question. I've applied to a few positions at iHeart, and he's reached out to the people. He's reached out to like, the anybody that he can reach out to for me, and it just showed me that I'm saying, like, that was like an internship within an internship, because like I was able to go in there and sit and meet all the hosts. Like I introduced myself. I you know took pictures. It was amazing, and I was able to pick Josh's ear about how he did this, why he does this, why he says this. It was for me. It was more of a looking experience and learning for me. It wasn't more of me being hands on, if I'm being honest. Because like they pride themselves on like paying the interns, and I wasn't an intern, but they didn't want like any legal actions to occur because they had that before in the past, so they
Hmm.
didn't want to really touch anything. But the fact that I was even in the building. I was able to sit in the studio, see how it works, listen and talk, meet people, met people such as like project managers and stuff like that. Just talk, introduce myself is all a blessing. And because of him, I was able to go to this event this summer called the National Broadcasting Association's event. It was a mixer where I met co-host of the Elvis Duran show, Gandhi, and I introduced myself to her, gave her my resume because I wanted to see if I could intern for them, and that was a beautiful thing. Now with Sirius XM, you know, working under Andy Cohen's Radio Andy is a lot of pressure. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. It's a little bit of room for mistake. It's a little bit of room for mistake because entertainment is so big. It's such a big deal. Andy Cohen is a professional, a beast at what he does on the radio. Very professional. What I'm saying, and his team is very very sharp. And I had to, you know, familiarize myself with, I'm saying, like how they do their content, how they do, how they use their software. I'm coming from Costco where I'm not really having to worry about being computer savvy to come to SiriusXM, and I got to make posts and I got, I'm saying, like, make archives episodes and make promos. So it was a lot of pressure trying to reach deadlines, but I would say that the things that I did to, remind myself that I can do it, I ask questions. At the end of the day, I'm an intern. I'm not a full-time employee. I was an intern, so I was able to ask questions and pick, I'm saying, my mentor's brain to where, like, yo, can you help me? And I wasn't afraid to ask for help. So I had pressure in the first few weeks, heavy. I did. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I even felt like, damn, like, am I supposed to even be here? You know what I'm saying? Like, could I handle this work? But ultimately, towards the end, I was confident because, like, I would just ask for help, and I was confident to the work that I was putting in. And then I ain't gonna lie, like, maybe like towards the end of my internship, I would make promos and stuff like that. Send them to my manager. I'd be like, "Oh, I just want you to tell me what you think." She like, "These are perfect." Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like she didn't even need to give me her approval because, like, she already thought the work was perfect already. So I would say that, the way I handled certain pressures on my internship was just always asking questions, believing that I could do it, and also not being afraid to make the mistake, not being afraid to fail. I did make a few mistakes where I had to apologize to my manager, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I made this mistake. Won't happen again." Own up to it, be accountable, be vulnerable with it, be vocal about it, and turn the next page. Radio is like, you got to get right to it. I was reading Angie Martinez's book, My Voice, and she said her and Ebro used to say, like, in radio you just gotta get right to the fucking, meaning, like, what I'm saying, you just gotta get right to it. You can't be afraid to ask the question, make the mistake, and own up to it. Don't beat around the bush because radio is fast paced. It's fast paced. It's thinking on the fly. Make sure that you're sharp. You're thinking on the fly. You made a mistake. You know how to bounce back. That's what makes you very, 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 necessary in the field. So that's how I was able to really, like, what I'm saying, fight through those pressures that I felt at the early stages of my internship.
It's funny you say that about holding yourself accountable for your mistakes, because believe it or not, I've made a mistake live on air on Sway's show. There was a time Jadakiss and Styles P were up on there and they answered my phone call, Yonkers talking to Yonkers. And I was just so hype and shocked at the moment. I was slurring my words a little bit, and I didn't even end up really asking the question I wanted to ask. I was trying to just like find a way to do some work with him on the side, basically. And they had to like cut me off, and just Jada had to go on and just continue on whatever he was saying. And that was a one-time thing, and I definitely learned from it. I even publicly admitted it on the show, like it was my mistake. I didn't like, how do I say, like I didn't like show I was professional, basically.
Wait,
Like
who had
the
to
way I
cut
am
you
now.
off?
Sway and Jadakiss. Like Sway just said, like Sway just went like that basically, and then Jada just cut me off and went on with his sentence. Because I originally
Man,
was asking him what were his plans for the summer for the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and I said if you don't have plans, let's make something happen. And then that's when they cut me off because I was in the middle of talking about it. And yeah,
well, and then, like I said, at the end of the day, be be grateful that you're able to make your mistakes now because you are professional, and it happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, like, we get into this because of our passion, because of, like, we grew up listening to these artists, listening to this music, and we grew up as fans first. So, like, it's
right,
okay. It's okay that you made that mistake. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say, like, you did anything wrong. It just wasn't the right time to ask them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it's a timing for everything. So it wasn't the right time to ask them. And that's all right because at the end of the day, you have called on Sway and I have answered your phone call and they have put you on the air. So, you are, what I'm saying, somebody that they enjoy, what I'm saying, getting on the phones and hearing their opinions and great questions. Like, you asked Juneville a great question the last time that I was up there and I was running the phones. You asked Juneville a great question that even Sway and Jumbo had said, "Wow, great question," and that's what makes
yeah.
radio great. That's what makes the viewers and listeners want to tune in more. So definitely give yourself some grace for that. You know.
For sure, for sure. I definitely, when it comes to these questions, like I always make sure I listen first because Sway always says it multiple times throughout the show who's going to be on, and I make sure I do my little research that I can.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I want my question to be like psychology based, But
Mm.
definitely when I remember Juvenile made that song, huh? And Eminem paid homage to him on the death of Slim Shady. I don't recall anyone asking him that question yet. So I was like, let me be the first journalist to hop on that, man.
That's right though, but that showed the versatility that shows honestly how great that you've gotten. Seriously.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? Because you got him off guard and he was like, whoa, he was like, that's a good question. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really even know how to really answer it because like it got him off guard, but that's what you want to do as a journalist.
right. And I had posted usually whenever whoever's behind the camera posts the video on YouTube, I'll like clip my question, the interview part, like you've seen, and I post it everywhere.
Yeah.
On TikTok, surprisingly, that clip on TikTok currently is at like 63.5K views, and that's my biggest views for right now. So that's pretty big.
That should tell you something.
Yeah,
That should tell you something, man. I'm proud of you, man, for real.
appreciate that, man. Um, Going into the next segment, speak on how important it was networking and building relationships when you had the opportunities to network through all these radio stations, and speak on where it got you now.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I think my networking game has gotten better. This past summer, my networking game was not always the best. I started trying to do that back in 2017 when I was going to these IBS conferences because I've been going for a while now. When I met Josh, it wasn't my first time going. I've been going for a while. And I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the best. I was afraid to introduce myself, approach myself, and when I would talk a lot. I'm talking too much in radio, just like you know what I'm saying in media, things are quick and you only got a short time to get somebody's attention. If you can keep somebody's attention, then you know you're working with something. But most of the time, you know what I'm saying, when you're trying to talk to like a host or artist, whoever the case may be, you only got at least maybe you maybe got 20 seconds if that to make them want to keep talking to you and keep their attention. So for me, I had to understand that as you know what I'm saying, to build a network, ask the simple questions first. Introduce yourself, ask, you know what I'm saying, do they have time to further off the conversation link via LinkedIn. If you have to go for Instagram, go for Instagram. But for me, I think that just being honest, I would just be honest about what I wanted, what I believe that I could do, what I wanted to learn from the individual. I was never ever trying to be somebody. I wasn't trying to act like, you know, had it already. I knew I didn't have it, but I knew I needed help. And I always just would just, you know what I'm saying, like definitely just remind myself that when I'm like, trying to network. And now like, even with my LinkedIn, everybody I meet now, I'll be like, let me add you on LinkedIn. Let's stay connected. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think that it's just off of the vibe that you create for the individual for them to say, okay, they want to connect with you if they don't. And sometimes I've had people that, don't want to connect with me, and that's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, somebody that you're trying to reach has a team. If one person won't reach you, the next person will. And I just, this internship at SiriusXM has been a testament to that for me that, don't give up when one person doesn't reach out, the next person will, and you got to keep going. So for me, I'm just honest about what I want and what I can do and what I want to do, and that for me that just helps me build my network because people know what I want to do, they know I'm honest, and they know that I'm a hard worker because like what I'm saying, my work speaks for itself in regards to my resume. So I'm always, willing to pass that around because I'm grateful that now I have things on my resume that I have done. I have put in the work, and it shows that I was at SiriusXM for basically 6 months, January to August. Who saw that coming? Not me. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, it's just like being honest when I'm trying to network and not be afraid to ask the question of like, can we connect further off with this conversation? So don't be afraid to ask.
And we're the perfect example of that as well, because I believe you found me on Instagram, and then from that point we just networked, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
actually on my podcast.
I reached out to you, man. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm not afraid to reach out to people that you know what I'm saying that what I'm saying I want to know about them. If I'm curious or I want to see if we can connect. I'm not afraid. Like you can't be afraid to throw yourself out there. You cannot be afraid. If you are, you know what I'm saying, like you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be tough for you, you know?
Right? And the time that I got to go to Sirius and walk around with Tone throughout the building, he I always thank him for this like every day, man. He introduced me to everyone around the building who was there at the time. The building wasn't that full because it was during the week of Christmas, so whoever was there, it was just whoever was there at the time. But I did
Mm.
network with a lot of people, and at the time I didn't have my LinkedIn made, but now that I do, next time I ever get to go up there, I for sure need to connect with more people on that app. So far, I do have a few people from Sirius though that are already following me on there.
Yeah, I mean, look, the next step for us is getting you that internship, man. Whatever we can do, we gonna get you that internship, bro.
I'm just trusting in
You know
God's
what I'm
timing, man. That's all.
saying? That's right. As you trust, keep putting in that work. But you know what I'm saying? Even for you, it's a blessing that you have a mentor like Tone. Shout out to him. Amazing person, man. Amazing person. He's another reason why that I was able to really get the experience that I had as SiriusXM by giving me his advice and always, always making his door open and made me feel welcome. And then that goes a long way as an intern when you're in the building, you know what I'm saying? That goes a long way. So shout out to him for that.
Facts. Big shout out to Tone out there. Shout out to Bier out there. Um, Going back to when you were with Sway and you got to experience his show for a couple days, speak on some of the things that you learned through, if you're comfortable with sharing some of the conversations you had off mic and on mic with Sway.
Well, man, where I start? One, I learned like from him, it's just like it's the approach to how he approached the show, the professionalism, the dedication, you know what I'm saying, the drive, the creativity, you know what I'm saying? It's everything about how Sway, you know what I'm saying, approaches his show, the team that he has around him. On the phones, I learned that I had to be quicker. Like Sway told me, so even on my first day, Sway said, you gotta be quick on the phones, man. Phones was ringing like crazy. And I'm like, yo, how am I gonna answer all these calls? And I learned a few little tricks and I got myself together, you know what I'm saying? I think I was nervous and it happens, you know what I'm saying? I got myself together. The conversation that me and had off, it just basically about me and what I want to do and how do I want to get there and also just like asking him questions about like how did he form the team that he formed? Because I feel like his team in that building is undefeated. From the producers
Yeah.
to, the co-hosts, Heather Tracy G, what I'm saying, you got Torch on, shout to all of them because they're so amazing and unique in their own way. And he allows all of them from DB to Torch, Heather B, Tracy G, even Kalani, Sway allows all of them to have a moment of shine every show that they're on. And I'm just like, how'd you form that team? You know what I'm saying? I was asking him about that and like what made him want to pick this host and that host, and he really is very intentional and very calculated on what he wanted to do and how he wanted his show to be. And I truly believe there's no show in that building like Sway in the Morning on Shade 45. There's no show in that building, and I learned a lot of how what I'm saying, how to be vocal, how to be with her. What I'm saying, with her ambition and how to talk and her voice. Her voice is strong.
Hmm.
Tracy with her awareness, even Mike Muse, with his like again, that's what I'm saying. Like, how did he form that team? It's just amazing. It blows me away every single time. You know what I'm saying? Every single time. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and also like I said again, being that phone app learning like that show sway in the morning phone line blow up crazy, but everybody's a citizen. Everybody wants to be a citizen, and people call in with great news, and they just want to share it with Sway and share it with the family, and that's the word. Sway makes that team feel like a family, and I felt like I was a part of that family, and I'm hoping that maybe I get adopted into it.
Nah, yeah, for sure. Definitely a big dream of mine too. And I can tell you from experience, them phone lines, they get busy. There's been a few times I couldn't even get through because it would go straight to like the voicemail ring, all because the line is too busy, or I'll get on, but Kalani will be like, Sway wants new callers to call up, which I can respect.
Yeah,
We do
yeah.
have sometimes they got the same citizens calling up, and sometimes they need new listeners to call up too. So
Yeah, it's all what goes for the best for the show and the business, the algorithm. So
right.
and that's another thing I learned too. Don't ever take nothing personal in this industry.
Destroy always says he comes from an era where he wasn't afraid to be told no to his face, and I'm definitely one of those people. Even though I'm a 2000s baby, I was told no to my face plenty of times, and
Yeah.
was I discouraged? Sure, plenty of times, a little bit, but I also learned how to move on from it and know that more opportunities will come. Like for example, in sports, there have been plenty of times I wanted to like try out for a team, and I ended up getting cut first cuts or getting cut second cut, and
Yeah. No.
I knew better opportunities would open regardless, so I didn't let it discourage me too much, you know.
Don't ever let her know, whoever listening to listeners that's out there listening, don't ever let her know discourage you. A no
Yeah,
is just a redirection to where your yes is.
that's a fact, man. Um, Lastly, on our last segment, I usually have anonymous people send in a survey of like an anonymous story on their personal life that they would want to share, that they want advice on, or something that they know can inspire others. And also, if there's an artist that they really related to and resonated with when it comes to their lyrics or their story. So, who is that artist that you resonated with their lyrics, their lifestyle, and all that?
Wow, that's a really great question. You mean in my whole journey or just my journey how I got to Sirius XM?
Your whole journey, like who's that one artist that really just connects with you the most?
Man, that's a good question. Wow. Um, wow. I'm mm, so much so like I listen to so many artists and I'm like, who do I want to pick? Because like you said, the lifestyle and I gotta be true to myself here.
Like if I could give you an example, say you're having a real bad day or something, and you want to just knock some hip hop to get your mind off of things. Who's that first artist you're throwing on?
I gotta go with Drizzy, man.
All right, Jersey Drake. And
Yeah,
what's that song?
I gotta go with Drake. I gotta go with 6 p.m. in New York, man. Like he said, oh, you gotta love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you gotta love it. He said, last night I went to sleep wanting more, trying to think of what direction I should go towards. That's me. That's my life right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my life right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I I listened to him and he was like, you know what I'm saying? He said I've been observing the game and felt like I've seen enough. You know what I'm saying? Like that was me. You know what I'm saying? Like I observed everything. I'm like I want it. You know what I'm saying? I want it. You know what I'm saying? And yes, that Drake 6 p.m. in New York, and then that 0 to 100 real quick, the catch up part where he was like, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm 27 now. I'm only getting better. If I haven't passed you up, then watch me catch up now. And I feel like I'm on the catch up. 28 years old right now. I'll be 29 in October, and a lot of you know what I'm saying people in my field. You know what I'm saying they start early. You know what I mean they already in 22, 23, 24, 25, and they already like third year, fourth year in their career on any radio station, but I feel like I'm on the catch up right now. So definitely Drake. Drake definitely motivates me. I'll throw on Drake, and I'm in a different bag. You know what I'm saying? From If You're Reading This Is Too Late to every album, I'm in a whole different bag when I'm listening to Drake. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that 6 p.m. in New York is one of my favorites. That and 5 a.m. in Toronto. His timestamps songs always hit different for me because I'm like, he just saying what I'm going through right now. And I just push through, you know what I'm saying? One song he got called Deep Pockets, you know what I'm saying? Like, he talk about his ambitions and his life. Don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? Like Drake's story, obviously we all didn't have the same story straight, but
Right.
he relates to all of us as young, you know what I'm saying, youth, men and women that tried to make it, you know what I'm saying, that had a hard time, you know what I'm saying? Like so I gotta go with Drake, man. That was a great question, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to you for that. That was a great question.
Yeah, man, that's the psychological part that I be trying to tell people. Like hip hop is amazing in all perspectives, man, and especially the psychology part, man, because through lyrics, through their storytelling, that's what builds the connection between the artist and their listeners. And that's the same
Man,
thing I'm trying to do with my listeners in my podcast.
man, you're doing it, man. Yo, definitely shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. Congrats to you because not only are you doing it, you started it. It's in motion. This podcast is in motion. You're going to have a lot of listeners and you're gonna have a lot of people tapping in because this is a great podcast and you're a great host and you want this. Your passion is gonna draw people in, man. So keep doing what you're doing. Again, like I said, do not get discouraged.
That's a fact, and I won't, man. It's only up from here. It's only one way to go, and that's you know that.
That's right, man. It's only looking towards the mark. Forgetting everything behind. It don't matter no more. Just look towards the mark, man. Your blessings on its way.
Let's get to it. That concludes another episode of Sanity and Symphony Podcast here with my guest, Demetrik Hylton.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man. And everybody, like I said, tune in. Tune in, man. Anthony, man, he's up next.
Appreciate that, man. Y'all have a good one.